You all, so many of the problems that we create for ourselves begin right here with this temptation. We don't trust that God is providing, and we elevate our needs to God-like status in our lives. And we make satisfying ourselves everything. And it leads us to the wrong place every single time. So how do we deal with this temptation when it comes up in our lives? Okay, what do we do? Well, let me just give you a little diagnostic that you can sort of run, and you can see if you're slipping away from God's provision and being satisfied with that, and you're moved into that territory where elevating your own desires to God-like status in your own life. Okay, so 3 simple little tests or diagnostics that you can run. The first one is simply this: gratitude. Run the little diagnostic of gratitude in your life. And here's how you do this. Just sit down and just start thinking about what all you actually do have in your life. Think about your home. Think about your car. Think about all those material blessings. Think about your job. Think about your family. Think about your relationships. Think about the grace that you've received from God Himself. Just go down the checklist. And as you begin to think about all that you have in your life, whether it's material or relational, whatever it might be, as you begin to think about it all, ask yourself, are these areas, are these things, are they points of gratitude for me? Or at the end of the day, are they really points of pride for me? I mean, if I walk up to my house and I look at my house and I'm like, man, I'm so proud of this place. I don't mean you just like your house. But I mean, you begin to look at that and you go, man, I have worked so hard, and look at it. This is what it's got me. Good job, Dave. If it becomes a source of pride in that way, as opposed to you look at your house and you think, God, I cannot believe you've provided for me and my family this way. I'm just blown away. And I thank you for all the memories that have taken place in this space and all that's happened to me here and the times that you've protected me from the storm, literally. And it's been a tropical storm or, a hurricane blowing rain all over and branches going everywhere. And here I've been in this home. And you've been there for me, and you've protected me. Thank you for providing for me. So the gratitude test, am I grateful or am I prideful? And if you're honest with yourself and you begin to realize, no, that really is a point of pride for me, then you need to push back and begin to say, well, have I elevated that desire to the point that it's taken on God-like status in my life? And maybe it's time to take a corrective there. That's one. Second one is the generosity test. And y'all, this one's tough, okay? Just ask yourself, in light of what I've been given, am I demonstrating the kind of generosity that stretches me to a point that it intersects legitimately with my faith? Here's what I mean by that. If you sit there and you look at all that you have, all of the abundance that you've been blessed with, and you ask yourself, okay, in light of the house that I have and the car that I drive and all this other, am I still able to be a generous person to the point that my generosity is in itself a step of faith? Okay? Is that where I'm at? Or has the fact that I've consumed and the fact that I have allowed my desires to get out of hand and they've taken on godlike status in my life, has it so crushed me financially and pinched me back financially that my response has been not to be a person of great generosity, which is thoroughly biblical, it's who we're supposed to be. Instead, I pulled back from that and I'm not a person of generosity at all. If that's where you are, if all of your bills and all of your expenses have left you at that point where you're like, I can't be generous at all, well, okay. That's telling you something. You've let your desires take on kind of a godlike status in your life because you're feeding those desires at the cost, at the expense of being generous the way that God has commanded us and led us to be. All right? Let me give you one more, self-control. Okay? So the first one, gratitude. The second one, generosity. The third one, self-control. Here's what I would say to you. Make a decision, a conscious decision, that you're going to live with less than you can afford. Just make that decision now. I'm going to show some self-control. It's okay for me to look at this thing and say, my God is going to supply every need that I have. I don't need to elevate my desires to God-like status in my life, because what's going to happen is if I do that, then it's going to run my life, because I won't just consume, I will overconsume. And when I do that, all of a sudden it's running my life, and my decisions are being made by the kind of house I have to have, and the kind of car I have to have, and the kind of cell phone that I have to have, and all of a sudden, who's really calling my shots here? Is it God or is it my desires? And you all, I think you can sit down and put this to work in your home today. Just sit down with your spouse today, if that's you, or sit down by yourself and just say, in light of everything I've got, is our overall attitude one of gratefulness? Is that our attitude?